Hello, everyone. Tracie here, your resident business rebel, and you're listening to Digital Business Your Way podcast, the show that lets true stories and insider secrets of online entrepreneur life unfold. Our business world is growing, and as an online business coach and digital product creator, I believe you didn't become an entrepreneur to grin and bear your way through business. So I'll be your guide as we drop in on coaching calls, have intimate sit-downs with online personalities you love, and discuss ideas, opportunities, and strategies circulating our online world. So pop in your earbuds, tap follow, and join me as I demystify this thing called business. Hello, and welcome back to Digital Business Your Way. I'm Tracie, and today's episode is one of my favorite kinds, an AMA, an Ask Me Anything style, which means we are getting into some very real, very relevant, and sometimes a little raw business questions straight from this beautiful community. And I've got two really good ones for you today. One about sales conversations and why these can still feel so uncomfortable even after years in business. And another one about pricing for international audiences, which is a conversation I have been having with people so much lately, right? So I know this is going to be relevant for a lot of you. So if you've ever dreaded hopping on a sales call or been unsure whether you should charge in this currency or that currency or what to do now or how to change pricing, keep those earbuds in because this one is for you. All right, let's dive into the first question, an anonymous question, but hello, anonymous. You asked, I've been in business for years, but sales conversations still make me nervous. I feel like it's really holding me back. Okay, yes, I hear you. I feel how that can really seem like something that is preventing that big business growth. And you can feel a lot of that kind of shame and guilt around it. Like, why is this still a problem? I shouldn't have this anymore. How can I be over here in this part of my business and have a problem over there in this other part, right? So thank you so much for sending this in and just for, being gutsy enough to ask, right? Because the more we talk about these things, the more we name these things, the less power it has over us straight away, all right? It can't hold you back when we talk about it. So thank you for trusting me with this, and we're going to dive into it because it is very common, and it is so much more common than a lot of people realize because there is this unspoken expectation that once you've been in business for any number of time, then everything magically gets better, right? And that sales should just feel so easy and so breezy and be so natural and in this groove. But let me tell you, it doesn't always work that way, especially if the way you were taught to sell, if it's never matched how you naturally communicate, right? And here's how I see it. The only way you can truly help your client is to deeply understand what they need, what they're actually looking for underneath the surface, and then be able to clearly communicate whether or not your solution is that right fit. Yeah? And that means listening with your heart, not just your brain, not with a checklist of objections that you must smash through, right? But with your whole self. Because sales is not a script. It's not. It's not a script. It's not a game. It's not about getting through numbers. It's a moment of connection. It's about respecting someone enough to say, here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I think would actually help, even if that thing isn't your offer, okay? Because that's what makes a good sales conversation. It's not whether you close something. It's whether there was clarity, honesty, and value alignment, right? And I get that, oh my goodness, does that feel so vulnerable? Because it is. Because there's an intimacy to hearing someone's goals, understanding their struggles, often seeing yourself in them, and then offering insight. And that makes us feel exposed too, right? like we're crossing or like walking this fine line. But that line isn't actually a danger zone. That's where trust is built. So to give you something kind of like concrete, and because I don't know your offers, Miss Anonymous, I'll throw one of mine out there to illustrate how I approach sales conversations without pressure. So let's say someone comes to me and they're launching. They've tried challenges, webinars, evergreen funnels, and nothing's really landing, right? They've been through a whole bunch of things and they just feel frustrated. They feel burned out. They've tried every system out there and they're like, why can't I make this work? What's wrong with me? Why does it work for all these businesses and not for mine? Now, instead of jumping in with tactics and let's fix this and here's what we do, I start by asking questions and listening to the responses. Then if it makes sense, I can walk them through an approach I use in an offer, like in your launch style, which has a framework that includes 4 elements that have to work together in order to feel holistic, right? Because most systems only include 1 or 2 of these. They don't include all 4. And when they don't have all 4, something feels off. So we have to bring them together for things to actually fit. So I'll ask questions around trying to see which one of these elements are off or haven't even been considered before. I ask questions trying to see what kind of support the person needs, already has, because this program includes a custom-built AI assistant. It has real human coaching with me. It has community support and people that like have your back. Yeah. So I'm not selling in the moment. I'm asking questions and I'm listening for matches to what is in the offer and what this person needs. And then I make blatant, very obvious connections for them. Oh, okay, you are talking about needing this. Well, in my offer, we do this, right? So it's very transparent and it's very obvious. And I'm the one doing the heavy lifting of making the connections for them. Yeah? I'm showing them the logical connections. And then I'm asking them, does this sound like what you're looking for? Is my interpretation of what you need what actually you feel like you need now that you're hearing it replayed back to you, right? So we're confirming, yeah? It's that consent conversation. It's like, I've received it. I am transmuting it. Now that I'm projecting it back to you, does that still find it? Are there tweaks? What else do we need to talk about, right? So if they don't hear a connection, or if it's no, or if now that they hear it, they're like, oh, actually, it's these other things. Well, cool. Yeah. Or if I don't hear a connection between my offer and what they need, that's also cool because all that means is just that they need something else. And I can refer them to some of the amazing people that I know that can also do great work, right? And I can point them in that right direction. And I can help them not start from scratch, start on a path that will get them even closer to what they're after. Yeah. So it's not a one and done, oh, you don't want me, then forget it kind of thing. No, because we've had a conversation where I've listened to them. So if it's not my stuff, other people's stuff is coming to mind, right? That is a successful conversation. It created clarity for them. And that's the real goal. So if you're nervous about, quote unquote sales conversations, well, let's try to approach them as moments of connection. Let's let go of the idea that the only good outcome is to get someone to say a yes, because the real good outcome is the truth. That's what builds a reputation people trust. That's what helps them remember you and wanting to work with you, wanting to refer you, having that feel-good moment about themselves whenever they leave being with you. Yeah? So think through one of your offers in either a conversation that you've had or that you can have with someone. And think about what questions you can ask or have already been asked that can guide you to knowing if your offer is a good fit solution or what else they might need, right? That you can refer them to. Because knowing your offer and listening for those points of connection, those are always the best way to sell. That's selling with clarity, with honesty, and being value driven. Okay? Let me know how you get on with this. Yeah? I want to know, does that feel lighter? Does that feel like, oh gosh, I can do that? All right. Because that's how we get to the point where selling feels like we are telling people about our favorite book. When we're like, oh my gosh, you have to see this show. Or, oh my gosh, this reminds me of that, right? Because we know our stuff so well. We are listening to what they're talking about so much that these points of connection come to mind, and we are making those connections and we're telling people about them. Okay. That's how this happens. That's what we're uncovering together. That's those things that we're connecting. All right. So tell me how you get on with that. Yeah. I really want to know. All right. So the second question, this is from Jessie, who asked, I'm in Australia and not sure if I should charge in US dollars or in Australian dollars, especially with the currency difference. And Jessie, I will say that this is a great question, and it's one I've been hearing a lot lately. Yeah. For a couple different reasons. So I'm going to touch directly on your question, Jessie, but also on some of the larger conversations that have been going on with currency. Because first off, you are not alone. This is super common question, especially with running global businesses from our laptops, right? You know, it's like all we need is to charge our battery and have good Wi-Fi. We can work anywhere. We can do anything. That's the beauty of what we do. Yeah. So people often think, like, should I charge in a common currency like USD, no matter where I live, because people are used to seeing, that money charged online, right? Then as I was saying that this is also part of a larger conversation, I've had 3 conversations this month with peers who are actively rethinking their currency models because of the value fluctuations that are going on lately. Right? Because, currency changes daily, but it typically only changes by small values. And right now it's having wide fluctuations in what is normally some very stable markets. So it's having people going, I'm not really sure what to do right now. Okay, so I'm going to touch on that part as well as kind of this more, an international business by default because I'm online. What should I do? All right. So there's a few pieces to consider for everyone listening. So let's talk through these kind of piece by piece. Your first move is always going to be check with your local professionals. Yeah. Your local tax people, your local accountants, your local lawyers, all those kind of people that you need to make sure that you are compliant no matter what you decide, right? That's always going to be your step one. No matter where you are, do your due diligence as a responsible business owner and seek out the right professionals for where you live to stay compliant. All right. It's not me. It's never going to be me. So find the people for where you are. But beyond that, it comes down to kind of 3 big questions. And then we'll get into some of those, what's going on in the grand scheme of things for the date that I'm recording this. Yeah. So the first one, where is your audience? All right, Jessie. If your clients are mostly in Australia like you, it may make sense to keep things local, right? That also helps with, the different currency values. If they're primarily in different North American countries, in different European countries, or the UK, or other international hubs, then having just one currency like the US dollar might make more sense as a common ground currency. And that's why you often see other people's businesses, like where they just have one currency in checkouts and it's often US dollar. Yeah. Because when, no matter where they're based, they just have one money amount, one checkout, because their buyers are all over and they want to keep things streamlined. All right. So where are your people? What are they used to paying? What are they comfortable with? What makes the most sense for them? Yeah. And the second one is something for you to kind of mull over. Why are you considering this? And be really honest with yourself. So are you doing this because you see other businesses doing it? Because it makes your numbers look better, right? Because like if you're Australian dollars to US dollars, then obviously you're going to get a revenue boost from the exchange rates. Are you doing it because it makes it easier for your audience? Are you doing it because there are businesses that you look at that you want to be like, or because you had conversations with people and so now you think you should? Right? There's no, right or wrong answer, right? It's your business. The only wrong answer is not being compliant for your area. So just I'm just asking these things because I want to make sure that you're thinking through this to make an aligned decision with your values. Yeah. Versus accidentally going into like an ego thing or trying to be like another business or falling into those should pressures from other people, right? Because it's your business, and you need to reflect your values, right? You didn't become an entrepreneur to bow to everybody else's whim, right? So what is it that you really want to reflect and that you really want to do for your audience and for where they are and for what's going on? Yeah. And think about it that way. And again, it's not about a right or wrong thing beyond compliance. It's just a case of what is it that's really driving this? And so as long as you're honest with yourself, just think about it like that. Then the third one is, are you prepared for what this change or even staying the same can mean for the back end of your business? Because pricing in US dollars when you're not based in the US, well, that's going to create some extra considerations with taxes and business wise and whatever you have to do there, but also with like refunds, with platform conversions, with changing your sales pages and your checkout pages and all across the board, right? There's a lot of back end stuff that you'll have to fix. Do you just use checkouts? Do you have invoices? Are you offering, conversion calculators? Are you making sure that everything in the back end is ticked to charge in the right currency? All of those kinds of pieces. Because some platforms make this really easy, like the one I use. I do everything on Kajabi, and it's just a drop-down menu for me. So I can say, charge in this currency, charge in that, and that's all I have to do, right? Aside from, the like accountant side of things. But not every system is that simple. So what is it that you need to do with your tech stack to make any sort of change beyond what you have right now, right? So check with that tech stack. And like I've said probably 15 times to you, of course, your local experts, and see what that change would really mean for you and whether that is worth it for what you're considering, right? So if you think back to question number 2 and question number 1, then your answer to number 3, weigh that against what you came up with in question 2 and question 1 to decide whether or not it's really feasible at this time. Is it something that you want to move into eventually? Like all that kind of good stuff. All right. Because it's not like you can't. It's just a case of, do you have the capacity for what it really means? Right. Now, larger picture, let's talk currency fluctuations, because that has been on a lot of minds lately, and for good reason. Because like I said at the top of this, despite daily changes in currency, for a lot of countries, they tend to be somewhat stable, and they're not being right now at the time of recording. So it is making a lot of people wonder what to do and how do I do it, right? And we're wondering, how can you protect your revenue and, help your audiences and help the people who are going through uncertain times around the world? How do you take care of your own business, but also how do you keep the clients that you have and take care of things, what you do? So one of the options, it's by no means the only one. And again, disclaimer, like always, talk to your local professionals. But one thing that you can consider is to offer what is technically called regional parity pricing, AKA checkouts in different currencies. Now, Jesse, like you, I have an international audience. So I think about it being that automatic 30% more for you, Jesse, since you are Australian, to buy anything from me being US currency primarily. And the same fluctuations for Canada and many other nations, right? So what can we do? Well, we may not want to do too many changes for, say, a $37 product or an $11 workshop, but for our programs over a certain amount, say like $1,000 up, or again, you can pick the different threshold for your own business. That's just an example. You can offer the option to pay in your own currency. So it can be 1,000 US dollars, 1,000 Canadian dollars, 1,000 Australian dollars. So the sticker price is the same in name, even if in exchange rate, it makes a 40%, 30% difference, Yeah. This can be done automatically with some platforms. Like I was saying, in Kajabi's backend, they makes it really simple, but not all does. You can also offer it manually. Like you can make the option to have somebody reach out to you, and then you send them like manual links or invoices or however you need to do that. But it can make a huge difference for people in countries where the exchange rate creates, 30, 40% increase plus, right? Like if you have a big audience in India, it's very, very real money that those kind of percentages, this is not small chunks of change. And offering this kind of option says, I see you, I understand this situation, and I'm here for you, right? Now, again, this obviously changes your revenue, especially if these are established programs that you're used to doing with, projected sales numbers. So look at that, figure out what you can do. Is this a short term, a long term, all that kind of good stuff? What is your audience makeup? But it is definitely something to consider. If this is something that you're like, I don't like what I'm seeing, I want something that I can do, or I have such a huge group of people that are in this other country, but they're telling me like it's hard to buy from me, right? Those kinds of things. This is just one of the options, yeah? But above all, the most important thing to do is to tell people what currency you are charging in. On your sales pages, in your checkout, in your emails, anywhere that you're going to write it, don't make them guess, because currency confusion will cause friction, and friction loses sales, right? It breaks that trust. It creates that kind of hesitation. Nobody wants to wonder or worry or lose focus. And going back to answering that question before, it's like, we need that clarity, right? We need that clarity. We need that honesty. We want that value driven, and we want transparency above all. Yeah. So people buy across currencies all the time. I mean, it's the internet age. We've been doing this for 30 years. What they won't do is feel good about it if they don't know what to expect or what they're paying, or get surprised. Yeah. Especially when so many of us share the same little symbol, right? It's like it's a dollar symbol, but it means a lot depending on what country it's attached to. So whether you stick to Australian Jessie, or whether you move to US dollar, or for everybody else listening who's trying to decide between Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, US dollar, all the other dollars, just be clear, be transparent, and make sure it makes sense for your business and for your people. All right. That wraps up our 2 Ask Me Anything questions today. And if either of these sparked something for you, or you've got a follow-up, let me know. You can do that anytime at traciepatterson.com/AMA, and just fill out that little form to give me some feedback or to ask a question of your own. And if you found this episode helpful, the best thing you can do is leave a review. It helps more than you know. And until next time, be well and have some fun. Thank you for joining me here on Digital Business Your Way. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the links mentioned today. And while you're there, I'd love for you to rate and review the show. And if you have a topic or question you want me to answer, I want to hear it. Head to traciepatterson.com/AMA and ask me anything about business. If I don't know it, I'll bring it up with one of my guests. And until next week, be well and have some fun.